Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to talk to you about something I've been asked a lot. Not so much online, but kind of in the gym, at work. And this is actually a thank you to Bruce Lee. So you may think that's kind of odd. What's all this about? Well, Bruce Lee has been a very influential figure in my life, and I'll tell you why I started to think about making this video recently. It's because I read Be Water, My Friend by Shannon Lee, and I read it 3 times. I mean, it was really a very powerful book for me. And, it's really weird how life happens and the questions people uh, ask me, like I said, at the gym, at work, kind of all tied into this book and my journey. So, um, Bruce died a few years before I started martial arts, and I started Taekwondo thanks to one of my friends. I think I was like, 15 years old when I started. And I never saw a Bruce Lee movie. I mean, I saw pictures of him, I heard people talk about him, but my mom wouldn't let me go because they were R-rated movies, and I never got to see it. So I started Taekwondo, and I fell in love with it. And that was the beginning of my martial arts journey. Uh, and what happened then was I was super passionate about it. I trained real hard. I built the gym at my grandfather's house in this, they called it the back house, in this area by where we had our aquariums and whatnot. So I built a gym, I put up a bag, and I trained constantly. And, uh, you know, I went to private school, Iolani High School, and, you know, I was so enamored by training and getting better. That's kind of like what I spent all my free time on. My grades kind of suffered, but I did end up graduating. But anyway, back to the journey. So one thing I kind of learned from that was I'm not that good. I'm not very athletic. I don't have a great body type, and but I quickly learned that I quickly learned my limitations, and I just kept trying to work around it. And I read all I could about Bruce, uh, articles, you know, bought some of the books that he authored, and when they finally released the Dao Ji Kundo, I read that um, cover to cover many times, and I think that sparked my interest in philosophy. So kind of what happened was, again, I never saw a Bruce Lee film at that time. So it's like, how am I going to get in? My parents aren't going to let me go. Nobody's going to take me. So, well, what kind of happened was I was really into photography. So in the photography lab at Iolani School, I actually experimented and made a fake ID. And actually, it was kind of weird. It's you know the wrong side of the track, and so I made this fake ID, and I experimented and tried, and this was my first step into actually what ended up being my computer career in an agile development. So I just kept iterating through it, and try to go, and then it failed. Try to go, failed, and then you know as the years went by. So when I'm like 16, coming on 17, um, a lot of the Bruce Lee movies were now in Chinatown, in all the older kind of dingy theaters. But I finally kind of perfected this idea in my late in my junior year, and it worked. And I got in, and the first movie I saw was Enter the Dragon, and I was like blown away. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I go, oh my God, I haven't seen anything like that. And I mean, to see it on the big screen and to compare my my skills at that time to what was on the screen, it was like they're levels. And that's one thing I learned about everything, whether it be fighting, training, work, computers, their levels. And like I'm here and there are guys here. And it really inspired me to keep going forward and to pushing harder and harder. And then, so at the start of my senior year, I was in the back of my grandfather's house and I hung this target up on a mango tree because I wanted to be able to kick anything I could touch. So I was super flexible then. And so I hung it up and I was just doing round kicks, like whack, 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 just keep hitting this target, keep raising it higher and higher and higher. And then as I kept raising it higher, at one point I threw up a left round kick and there was this incredible pain. And I just collapsed on the ground and like my whole right side was really in pain and I couldn't even move. And what happened there is as soon as I hit the ground, I couldn't get up. I was in like incredible pain. And then it started to rain, it started to pour. And I was just yelling and screaming for somebody to come help me. But then the rain and I guess, you know, my grandparents were older, so they didn't hear it. And then it was hours later when somebody finally found me. And, you know, they took me in and I didn't end up going to emergency, but because I couldn't move. They thought I just maybe tweaked my back. So I ended up going to the doctor and to make a long story short, they said I have like a birth defect. So like my spine is like this, but my spine is there, but there's a part of the spine that actually goes off this way. It's like almost like a second thing, almost like a tail. And there's a nerve that went through that, through part of the vertebrae in the tail. And then every time it would pinch, I would just I'd lose control over my right side, it'd get all contorted. And fast forward, you know, seeing doctors and everything. I mean, I couldn't, my senior year in high school, it was very difficult for me to go to school. I had to sleep on the floor. And so the doctors basically said, you have three options. You can have the surgery, you can do nothing, or you can try, I'm sorry, there are two options. You can have the surgery or you could do nothing. But if you have the surgery, there are three possibilities and they're all equal. So it's 33% you'll be paralyzed, 33% nothing's going to change, and 33% you're going to get better. So I looked at that odds and I goes, hey man, so it's 66%. So if you follow like my crypto stuff and everything, but you know, I'm a data guy. So 66%, nothing's going to happen. Screw that. So they basically said, you know, you're done. No more martial arts. No more weight training. No more nothing. You just gotta deal with it. So while I was injured during that time, I slowly tried to work my way back, and I just kept reading stuff about Bruce and what Bruce said. You know, Bruce hurt his back too, and he worked his way back. And, you know, and even in Shannon Lee's book, Be Water, My Friend, you know, he never recovered from it, and he kept pushing forward. And that's what really inspired me to not give up. So I kept training the best I could, and I would collapse. If you're in my company, so if you're in my companies, we bought companies, we started businesses. If you were working with me during those times, I mean, they actually, for years, they'd have to lay places in the office or in the store, wherever we were, where when I collapsed, they could lie me down until I recovered. But I kept training. I couldn't kick. I tried to kick. Anything I kicked above a low leg kick, you know, the chances of me collapsing were super high. So I just started working on my hands, started lifting. And um, all the while, all those years, I just kept thinking about the excellence of Bruce and what he thought. And so, point of trivia, if you ever, because I have all these trivia contests, um, I've paid to see Enter the Dragon over 100 times. And of course, back then it was like, it's only a couple dollars. It'd be at the universities, $1.50 entry or whatever. And I've watched it, I don't know, countless of times. Even now, the techniques just amaze me. And, you know, what Bruce inspired me to do is to keep pushing, to always get better. And it wasn't into my 40s that I realized that, hey, I'm not having those attacks anymore. And then as each month went by, it's like, I don't have another one. And what ended up happening is the, the joint where the nerve went through actually fused over. So there's a calcium deposit there. So if you kind of see sometimes, like I have this kind of big bulge on my back, and that's from areas where the calcium just kind of, it looks kind of weird, but it um, it kind of sealed it, so there's no pinching, but I lost incredible amounts of flexibility. So what ended up happening was, I had my daughter. We adopted our daughter in 1996, and when she got older, we started training her in martial arts, and then I started to get back into it. And then she wanted to do jiu-jitsu because she did aikido and she said it was boring. She wanted to do jiu-jitsu, and that inspired me to get into jiu-jitsu. And I felt like I was 15 again, and the same mentality. And so how does this all tie in? It's because people ask, like, you're kind of old to get started, to get back into this. But it's what Bruce said is, to express yourself, to be, to live your life and pursue your passions. And that's what I did. So I just got back into it and just started training and training, and just like I was 15 again, train whenever I could, work on my skills, and took what Bruce said, and in terms of especially the thing about, I you know I don't feel the man who has 10,000 techniques, but who has practiced one technique 10,000 times. I think it's 1,000 actually, but you need more than 1,000. But so I just kept, and the other thing that stuck with me from when I first started reading some of his works until this day is his focus on understanding fundamental principles. And that has completely been an important factor and changed my life. So I look, everything seems to have, as I'm getting older, everything is kind of coalescing. The fundamental principles that I first was exposed to through Bruce Lee and martial arts when I was 15 still hold true to this day. Sorry for being so emotional, but it's something I really believe in, and it's incredibly important to me to look at trying to understand how things work, how I can make myself better, how I can, especially how I can make myself better with the realization of my limited skill set, to truly understand my capabilities, but yet to try to push beyond them. And so people ask, like, why you keep training? You know, you're old, you should just, ride off into the sunset. Basically, what is the point of to keep pushing? You're not 15, you're not 20 anymore. And the other thing that I got from Bruce was, and people like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, people that really inspired me, was to try to make the world a better place, to pass things on. Oh, I didn't think this would be as hard as this is, but I'm still exploring. I know my skills are diminishing, but I'm so grateful to have been on this journey. And I'll be on this journey until the day I die. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and aloha.